Yeah, sis and tell, a whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing. Amanda does stand up, Alison's on TV, and when they hop on the phone, it's the place you wanna be. Sis and tell.
Hey, Allie.
Hey, man, what's going on?
Well, I'm used to embarrassing my children based on my behaviors, but I don't like to embarrass them based on their behaviors. But there's something I need to talk about that I feel like it's so top of mind.
Okay.
And we'll just call them anonymous child. So anonymous child.
But there is a 1 in 3 chance that I can guess which child
right.
it is.
Oh,
so.
you probably would be able to guess right away which one this is.
Is it Ruby?
I'm not saying. We're just saying anonymous child.
Okay.
So anonymous child is getting a desk installed in their room, right? It's a hanging desk. It's like, installs on the wall and then flips out. So I'm in...
Wait. It's a hanging... I've never heard of this.
It's just like...
a Murphy bed, but it's a desk?
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
It's
I love
a Murphy
that. I've
desk.
never heard of that. I love that.
It doesn't... There's not a lot of space. It takes up minimal space. Anyway, so I'm prepping the wall, right? And part of that is removing...
Who's prepping the wall? You're prepping the wall?
I was just removing stuff that's on the wall,
okay,
including...
You're not like, using
spackling.
like spackle.
No, I'm not.
So when you say to
spackling.
prep the wall, that's,
Right.
that's sort
No,
of
this
like
is...
industrial speak, not
Right.
just decluttering.
This is not an HGTV show, but I would love to be on one. That being said, I'm constantly going on HGTV to see if I can be on a show as like a client, I guess. Anyway, no one wants to build a tiny treehouse in my backyard for some reason. I think it would be great. I try to get on that show. But anyway, I digress. As usual, I'm prepping the area, right? Which is really, I'm just removing posters that said child has put up on the wall, and I come across a slew of dried boogers, right? And
This
I
is
don't know.
disgusting.
I
This
know,
is not
I'm
where I
so-
thought you were going to go. I thought there was going to be like hidden porno, which is also
No. Oh my God.
another
No, that's-
story. But
I don't know what's worse.
Ooh.
Because I've literally, first of all, inadvertently created a new type of super glue, because I don't know how long these suckers have been stuck on the wall for, but I literally had to sand it down with sandpaper to get it off.
Okay, let's back up. So
Yeah.
were the boogers, the said boogers, behind the posters like as adhesive, like holding up the posters? Or were the posters used to shield the boogers from view? Or were the
No.
posters there and the boogers just happened to be around them?
The boogers were sprinkles around.
Oh, gosh,
It's so gross. Like, being a mom is disgusting. Okay. Can we just say that Mike Rowe, he has that show called Dirty Jobs, and the one job he hasn't gone to is the job of being a mom, right? There is so much gross things that we have to deal with on a daily basis, especially when they're little. And this was something I thought we had outgrown. Like, I don't know, do other people have to deal with boogers on walls when their kids are little? Maybe that was just my children who were too afraid to get out of bed, so they'd pick their nose and wipe it on the wall instead of getting up and going to the bathroom, right? This was too much. I made the child also help.
I was going to say that would have been the first thing I did, was drag that child by the ear, bring them upstairs, hand them the sandpaper and say, go at it.
I did, but then the child had to start school, and
what was this, at 7 a.m? You're doing this?
oh, this was like moments ago.
Oh.
Just moments ago.
It really was. This just happened.
Right. Which is why I feel like I had to talk about it. So there we go. That's how I started off my morning. Good morning.
Oh my gosh, disgusting.
So gross.
I don't think boogers will ever be not gross. That's just one of those things, like no matter, like it's just, they'll forever be gross, right? Yeah, there's some things that I thought were gross that's no longer gross, like Brussels sprouts or eggplant. Those or beets, right? Those used to be so gross, and now I'm like, they're all delicious, right? I've changed my mind. I don't think I'll ever change my mind about a booger.
We are, and to be fair, you are talking about a category is stuff you can eat.
Right. Right. It's like the opposite. The stuff I would eat as a kid that I won't eat now versus the stuff I wouldn't eat as a kid that I would eat now. They just sort of flipped.
That is not an amuse-bouche I'm interested in eating.
No, not at all.
Thank you. I don't think I was ever grossed out by food, though, when I was little. I pretty much ate everything. I remember the first time I had cheesecake, because that sounded disgusting to me, right? Cheesecake.
When you think about cheesecake is not like such like a foreign food. Like when you say we ate everything, like when you look back at your childhood, like we were eating like 7 different food groups. There was nothing like there was the chicken food group, there was the broccoli food group, like not even like vegetables and meat. Like there were literally like 7 probably things that just got rotated. Right. There was like the pudding food group. It's not like there were so many varieties of food like there are now. Like cauliflower rice, that would have been an amazing addition to our childhood repertoire.
I was introduced to sushi by a certain movie. I bet you can name that movie.
A certain movie.
There's a movie where one of the main characters is eating sushi. And this is way before it came to anywhere near us.
Was it like...
It's from the 80s.
I'm trying to think. I have no idea.
It's one of your favorite movies.
Oh, Breakfast Club?
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
ding,
that's
ding, ding.
so funny. I forgot that Molly Ringwald, she brought it for lunch. Because I didn't have sushi till I lived with Uncle Billy, and he introduced me to it.
You introduced me to sushi.
Oh yeah, I introduced you to hardcore sushi. Well, then I worked for the Japanese consulate, and it wasn't, it was a whole new level of sushi, right? And sashimi.
I remember preparing that each piece, I'd put a little bit of ginger and a tiny bit of wasabi, and I dipped it in the sushi. I had like half a roll, and I was like, I'm full. And you're like, what? My favorite sushi story, not my own. It belongs to our sister-in-law, Melissa, and our brother's best friend, David.
It's a great story. I love this story.
This story takes place in the 90s in Manhattan. So Melissa, our sister-in-law, and David is Stuart's best friend that he's known since preschool.
Birth. Yeah, basically.
Right? Yeah, like they've always known. And like how cute that you would say, when we grow up, we're going to live in New York and work for the same company. And they did.
Right. Exactly.
They did. And Melissa and David would hang out too. And one time they went to an all-you-can-eat sushi restaurant. I don't think it was always all you can eat. I think at that moment it was.
Well, I think it was a special night, and when you say all you can eat, it was like one price. So for like $20, you could order whatever you wanted, but it wasn't a buffet. It was you order off the menu, right? For a fixed price, which is also very unusual, especially for sushi.
And they spent all day not eating to prepare, right? They're like, we're going to be so hungry.
Which is actually the worst way. A side note, if you want to prepare to eat a large meal, and speaking of like Thanksgiving next week, do not starve yourself because you are actually shrinking your stomach, and then you will actually get fuller faster.
Or you'll throw up.
Yeah. One of the two will happen. It is a literal recipe for disaster. So do not starve yourself. So anyway, this is a precursor to a more disastrous tale, not to, ruin your story, but yes, that was the start of the downhill slope.
So they sit down at this, they pay for the all you can eat option, right? They order sushi. You can continuously order. That's the thing.
But there's a caveat.
There's a caveat. What is that caveat, Alison?
The caveat is if you leave anything on your plate, then you have to pay for that sushi a la carte. And they do that because they don't want people to order so much, get full, and then to leave a whole bunch of sushi and waste it, which was really smart because as Uncle Billy will tell you, the way he taught me to eat sushi, we always ate at the sushi bar. And we would order, we would eat, and we would then kind of gauge if we were still hungry. We would order more and eat, which was a really healthy and reasonable way to actually eat. It's really like a slow food way, right? You eat and you kind of rest and you have some green tea. You don't order a massive amount of food, try to get through it. You don't, and then you waste all of it. So this was the way that the restaurant was trying to prevent waste and overindulgence.
Right. And I think at first their strategy was to order, eat, and then order again. But what happened is they ordered a reasonable amount. It took forever for them to bring the sushi.
Right,
They were
forever.
starving. So they ordered more thinking we may as well go ahead and order or we're going to be here forever. Except they brought everything at the same time and had an obscene amount of sushi. So they got to the point where they stopped eating the rice. They were just eating the insides, but they knew they were still going to be charged for all the sushi. So I think it was Melissa, I'm assuming, who came up with this strategy
Brilliant,
of
brilliant.
how to get rid of the evidence, which was they lined their pockets with napkins and they shoved all the rice in their pockets.
I think they took turns. I do remember the napkin being part of it, but what I think happened is they took turns using their napkin to go into the bathroom and they flushed the evidence. And so little by little, they got rid of the sushi. I think what you are confusing the lining with is Stuart, so our brother, when he was in college.
I know what it is.
You know this?
No.
So when Stuart was in college at BU and rushing fraternity, one of the pledge challenges was there was an all-you-can-eat wing place in Boston.
Oh.
Yeah, and this was really like literal all-you-can-eat for like $12.99. But I guess one of the challenges was you had to bring home, and you weren't allowed to take home wings. Not like, I'll like 24 wings and take it home. You had to eat it all there. You had to take home something like 4 dozen wings and somehow sneak it out of the restaurant. That was one of the challenges. Well, in order to justify like walking out with 4 dozen wings, you actually had to sit there and eat a substantial amount also. And what they would do is they lined their backpacks with plastic bags. And if Stuart's listening to this, I'm pretty sure this is accurate. They would line their backpacks with plastic bags and they would order a dozen. I think you could order like a dozen at a time. So they would eat like half a dozen and then put half a dozen in their bag. And this went on for hours until they had 4 dozen wings. And so then not only were they sick to their stomach.
Collectively or individually?
Individually. Each of them, like walking out with these giant backpacks full of wings. And I don't know how the restaurant didn't catch them, right? But anyway, so I think he was the lining of the backpack. I'm pretty sure Melissa and David were the just somehow covertly sticking the rice and the leftover sushi in the napkins and taking turns going to the bathroom. But because it wasn't like they were going to have to pay like $10 more. Like it was going to be an obscene amount of money more. So,
well, it's so surprising that Stuart would even do that because he's like the Jiminy Cricket of the family, right? He is the moral compass.
Yeah.
And it's almost like he stole those wings, really.
It is almost like he did. And in fact, you could say he did. I know you're reluctant to actually attribute anything negative to him.
Stuart Bubba Goldstein, did you steal those wings? So he did. And you know what my memory of what he did in pledging that fraternity also was they made them eat a Happy Meal. And to be clear, it was the entire Happy Meal, not just the hamburger, not just the fries, but also the toy and all the packaging.
Oh, no.
Yes. They had to make
that's just unhealthy. That's not safe.
Happy Meal smoothies. Oh, come on. It's a fraternity. What is healthy about being in a fraternity? Now, I mean, now they have like different rules, right? But
well, maybe.
Do they? I don't know.
Maybe.
I never did sorority stuff. You didn't either. They didn't even have that at Brandeis.
No, they don't. And I don't think they still do, as far as I know. There were some sort of like underground, off-campus, not affiliated with the university fraternities. Maybe sororities were starting to pop up when I was there, but nobody had any interest. It was such a small school. It was undergrad when I was there, 3,200 people. So I was, it wasn't
That's
really,
it?
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So there wasn't, and I understand, right? I understand why, the Greek life it's a very different animal at different schools. So no judgment. It just wasn't a thing.
Right.
Where I went to school. Yeah.
Right.
So can we talk about the family text message? Of course, there are like 5,000 of these. And I will say they get a little confusing. Mommy starts these text messages. And I think she forgot, I swear I must have 50 different versions of a text message. Like, for some reason, there's one of me, you, Stuart, and Mommy. She left
Right.
Daddy off. Sorry, Dad, if you're listening to this. We have a whole separate text. And it's not, I don't think she meant to leave you off. But sometimes when all 5 of us are on, it leaves you off because you have an Android. And the Android really, sorry, folks, if you don't have an iPhone and you are messaging somebody with an iPhone, it's just it screws up everything. It really does. It's very hokey.
So it's the worst part to having an Android, and it's a major downfall, I think. But luckily I still have messages on my computer, so I do get them. And Mommy also has that family text with all of us where she put your email instead of your phone number.
Which is so annoying.
And it keeps on going back to that. No matter how many times you correct her, it's like we're asking her to program a VCR. I don't understand what's happening.
Yeah. And she used to send, so she's gotten better because she used to send me emails that were really more appropriately done through text, right? Like, hey, what time is this? Right? It's like a 1-line email. I'm like, that would be a good reason to text, right? A 1-line question is a good text. And conversely, she would send me like a very long text that I'm like, now this would be a good thing to actually email. You could have put all of that in email form, right? But anyway, so she, sends out this group text. I don't know when it was, maybe a week or 2 ago. I lose track of them, so I don't always respond. I think it was a picture of who? Like Nana and Aunt Lynn and Aunt Gail?
No, it's Nana, who is our paternal grandmother, Aunt Phyllis, who is
our cousin.
Like
it's
our
yes.
cousin. Like
yes.
we are like her mom was first cousins with both our grandparents.
Don't even. Yes. So Aunt Phyllis, whose daughter Aunt Lynn is one of Mommy's best friends, and introduced Mommy and Dad. Yes.
Yeah, and then another cousin who I don't know who that other lady is, but she sent this out to me and you, Shira, who's Aunt Phyllis's granddaughter. Yeah. And
let's say Aunt Phyllis is about to turn 100. Okay, so shout out to Aunt Phyllis. She is unbelievable.
Who, by the way, has no issues using text message or Facebook.
Right. Aunt Phyllis is like the most technologically savvy person. And she Zooms and Skypes and she's amazing. Yeah. And she has the skin of a 30-year-old. Like, let's just be clear. She is a rock star.
Looks amazing. But Mama Jenny, who is Phyllis's mom, she lived to be like 103 and also looked amazing.
Yeah. They've got some good genes. Shira, you are very lucky. You know that. She's going, yes, I am. You are very lucky. Yes. Inherited those good genes. So anyway, yes. So Shira's on there. Aunt Gail.
She copied her aunt and our first cousin, Stacy, who looks a lot like our a paternal grandmother, Nana. But it wasn't Stacy's text. It wasn't her number. It was not her number.
Well, we didn't know this. So this is what happened. So all these, responses are going back and forth, and you lose track. It got shuffled down to the bottom of my text exchanges until about 3 days ago when we get a text. Do you have the actual text? That's actually funny.
I mean, I can pull it up. Hold on. Oh. Okay,
I found it. Did you find it?
I do, and I feel like we should do a reenactment.
Okay. Okay, so they send the picture. People write hearts and XOs and how people look like each other. And then all of a sudden on Tuesday at 11:34 a.m., we get the following. Hello, not sure who you believe this is, but my name is Jeffrey, and this is now my work number for a government line. So a normal family would immediately say, so sorry, Jeffrey. We thought you were our cousin Stacy, and we inadvertently put your number in there by mistake. But no, we are not a normal family. So Jeffrey then prompts what is like a litany of insane responses that any normal person would literally be calling like the texting police. So Amanda was the first to respond, of course. Yes. Right. And what did you write back?
I said, hi, Jeffrey. We will attempt to take you off the family text, but please know that you have infiltrated one of the best Southern Jewish families you didn't know existed. I would be remiss if I also failed to mention that some of us have a podcast called Sis and Tell, sisandtell.com, that'll have you wishing you were a Goldstein cousin. My mom Also, might try to pipe in and play a game of Jewish geography with you to find out if you know of any of our other cousins who work for the government.
Yes.
And
So
of course.
yes,
Oh,
so
man.
I think we all figured out, okay, some guy got on here, the wrong number was put in. It's poor Jeffrey who, and I don't even know how you get out of a text exchange. I think you have to do it yourself. I think you have to remove yourself from the text message,
Or you have
theoretically.
to start a new group, is
Yes.
my guess.
Well, Mommy didn't quite see it the same way we did automatically. She thought that this definitely is Stacy's number, and why is this person writing us this? So in the meantime, while we're writing back, or you're writing back snarky responses, Mommy is calling Stacy, and then the next response Mommy has is scam. Stacy has no idea what this is. Just talk to her. Why is her name on this? And so now Mommy is convinced that somehow, even though Mommy controlled the text message chain, that this Jeffrey has somehow, and back to your word, infiltrated us with with malicious intent, right? To scam all of us on this text exchange, and using the picture of Nana and Aunt Phyllis as his modus operandi, right? So meanwhile, that made me laugh harder than your text message, because poor Jeffrey is like now being accused not just of being a scammer, which is almost like the worst thing you can be accused of in social media, right?
Scam. And he's still on this. So she's accusing. J'accuse.
So I wrote Mommy back immediately and said, Mom, you added her.
And Jeffrey is still on
Jeffrey's still on this text, right? Mom, you added her, but you added a number that is not her cell. Just remove it. Not a scammer, just a guy who got added to this exchange by mistake. So then, of course, you and I had the exact same idea. While I'm texting Mommy to explain this, you actually called Mommy.
I did, yeah.
And
I said,
yeah.
Right. I was like, Mommy. And I re-explained what you said. I said, this is an old number that's no longer Stacy. That's why you had it. That's why you used it, and now belongs to someone else named Jeffrey. And then she felt bad for calling him a scammer. And of course, she replied, and her version of apologizing was saying,
Go ahead.
Yes, he's joining us for Thanksgiving. Amanda will pick him up at Atlanta Airport and drive to take.
Oh
That and still Jeffrey on here. And then I reply, sorry, Jeffrey, we know you're not a scammer. Mommy will send you a chocolate chip banana bread as repentance.
And then Shira replied, can I get one too? And I just wrote, sorry, Jeffrey, for just all of this. So Jeffrey, to his credit, did write back. Poor Jeffrey. He wrote, haha, y'all are a fun group, I can tell. Sorry about all of this and to disrupt the family text. I'm not sure how to remove myself. You may have to create a new one. Apologies. That was his polite way of being like, yeah, this has been real fun, but if you keep blowing up my phone with these random crazy texts, I'm going to have to use my government issued security clearance to send out somebody to get you.
Right. And of course, Aunt Gail responds and introduces herself afterwards.
I think Aunt Gail wanted everybody to know this was really Aunt Gail. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. Poor Jeffrey. That was the funniest thing ever. I think we need to tell Mommy to delete, like everybody just delete that message, and so it never gets pulled back.
It's such a random group I don't think this group has ever been put together in a group text. So I don't see her ever needing to reference this ever again.
Right.
So
the funniest thing is if somehow, right, because he works for the government and it was a 404 area code, I'm thinking maybe that Jeffrey works in Atlanta city government, right? So the chances of somebody hearing this and knowing a Jeffrey who works for Atlanta city government, and maybe Jeffrey told the same story to someone else, I bet we find Jeffrey, right? And one day Jeffrey can come on the podcast and tell us his side of the story. Of what he was thinking. And he might even say, I have no thoughts, right? I was just ignoring all of you.
If Jeffrey is his real name.
if you are indeed Jeffrey.
I bet he works for the CDC. He's a new employee also.
Oh, maybe it is CDC. That's a good call. So I actually have something that I haven't told you about, but I'm very excited about.
Oh, well, what is it?
I'm getting invisible aligners.
Oh, I've been thinking about this. This is because you didn't retain your teeth after the braces and you didn't wear your retainers. Now you have to retain them
It
again.
is. Yeah. So I need to start this with first a public apology to mom and dad for wasting all of their money. It wasn't a total waste. My teeth are actually pretty straight. Like if you see them, see, if you see them, they
Your
look.
bite's off.
Yeah. Well, look, if you analyze it, everything is off.
My bite is off
I've
too.
got teeth behind teeth, and the bottoms are really
But
crooked. Yeah.
Murray's retainer is basically the Invisalign.
Right. I mean, that's what they are right now. And, the two older boys had braces. Levi's teeth are pretty perfect. So his dentist even said, if this was my kid, I wouldn't even send him to the orthodontist. So I feel like I saved by not sending Levi to the orthodontist. So now I have this credit and I need to use it. It really, in the summer, we were doing one of those selfie videos, right, for somebody's birthday, one another. And afterwards I went, oh my gosh, look at my teeth. You could really tell that the bottom were out of whack. And so I'm like, I'm going to look into it. So I got scanned. It's all, I was most worried about the mold. Okay. So I had braces in 1979. Okay. Think about technology. So I was
You
9 years
braces
old.
when you were 9?
Yep, because I had them for 3 years and I got them off before my bat mitzvah. So I had them from 1979 to 1982.
Did you lose all your teeth by the time you were 9?
I have no idea. They must have pulled a whole bunch of them. Who knows?
I didn't start losing my teeth till I was 8.
Oh.
I didn't get my boobs until last year. I'm a late bloomer.
Yeah, well, and I had like a headgear and a night gear and like literally, and rubber bands, literally everything. And I really was very, very responsible. And so much so that I think when they said wear your rubber bands 12 hours a day and your headgear for 12 hours at night and things like that, I did. And then I would go back. They're like, oh, you overcorrected. I'm like, well, how can I overcorrect, right? So I had these braces forever. Then I had the retainer. And the problem is when you're 12 and you say, how long do I have to wear this retainer? I was used to like 12-hour increments or 1 week or 6 months, right? They're like, for the rest of your life.
Oh.
You can't say that to a 12-year-old. That's a long time. I did get a second set of retainers when I was 19 and moved back to Birmingham to work for a summer. And that didn't last either. So really, I think I went and I had a toothache. And the periodontist, whoever I went to, had said, well, do you grind your teeth? I go, probably. I had a mouth guard when I was like 20. So he says, well, you should think about getting another night guard. And that's what really then further planted the seed where I thought, well, if I have to start wearing a night guard for, 8 hours a night, I might as well wear this thing 23 hours a day, which is a huge jump, and go ahead and straighten my teeth. My only regret is I didn't think of this a year ago. Because this would have been the perfect COVID thing, right? Like I'm wearing a mask for 9 months anyway. Might as well have these aligners in. I'm not shooting my show because we're on hiatus until COVID dissipates. And so this would have been the perfect time to do this.
Well, let me say this, that we didn't think it would last this long. We didn't know. If I had known, I had started eating really healthy in like December of last year where I was doing intermittent fasting and a variation of the whole 30 just as like my way of eating because I don't believe in diets and and then I stopped it for a glass of wine and I was like screw it, and then I'm eating like loaves of banana bread for breakfast and it's just all, and then I weighed myself yesterday and I was like, man, if I would have known that COVID was going to last this long, I would have not been like, life is short, because what's not short is COVID. COVID has not been short.
Right.
And now my pants feel too tight, and thank God for elastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, of course, there's all this stuff that we would have been doing, like not eating loaves of banana bread for breakfast. And now I'm not. Now I'm going back to.
Well, and to be fair, to your point, right, I would not have realized how unstraight my teeth really are if I hadn't had to do all of those selfie videos during COVID because nobody could be together for each other's celebrations and birthdays. So that actually was what pointed out to me that and there's just spaces, and I've got gum issues, and I think that's going to help. But all this to say that I'm going to start the treatment, I think, starting January 1st. Like, I don't want to do it over the Christmas holiday, but I'm going to start it, and it should last about a year, a little bit more. So I'm
Okay.
very excited for the before and
luck.
after. Yeah. So
Then it shouldn't last for a year. It's going to last forever
it's
because
going
then
to
you have to
last
maintain it.
forever. I know. But now that I'm smarter about it, I know if I just have to wear the retainers at night, then I'm fine with that. I'll do it. The boys are good. They wear the retainers and they're good about keeping up with those.
You are marrying your retainers. This is your
it.
marriage.
Yeah. Until death do us part. I commit. I now commit and understand the value and importance of that commitment.
Speaking of commitments, I feel totally committed to all of our Sis and Tell listeners. Thank you so much for continuing to support us with your comments and your likes and your shares. Please continue to tell your friends. And I want to give a big old shout out to our new fan base in India. Who knew? They're listening to us through the Gaana app, and we appreciate it. And they really like that episode. What is it? The Private Stock of Milton Goldstein. So y'all go find that because it's really popular in India right now.
As always, this has been Amanda and Alison with a whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing. We'll catch you next time.